Sorry, babe. I am already in Bali.
The text message glowed on my phone, a stark betrayal in the cool, blue light of the kitchen. It was from my wife, Sarah. Hey, just landed in Bali. The flight was long but so worth it. The resort is paradise. Thinking of you. Miss you already. P.S. Tell Mark I said thanks again for the amazing itinerary. He's a lifesaver. Saxo, Mark, her work husband, the term she'd laughed off for months, swearing it was just a silly office joke. But my phone told a different story. A story of a meticulously planned, secret vacation paid for with our money from the joint account I rarely checked. The itinerary, the flights, the romantic beachfront villa, all booked while she'd kissed me goodbye that morning, telling me her work conference in Chicago would be so boring. I stood there, the silence of our empty house pressing in on me. I could almost smell the salt air of her lie, hear the echo of her laughter with him on a beach half a world away. The humiliation was a physical blow, hot and nauseating. I had built this life for us, brick by brick, and she was using it as a foundation for her affair. My hands trembled, not with sadness, but with a cold, clarifying fury. I picked up my phone, my thumb hovering over the keypad. The rage demanded a scorched-earth response, a text that would shatter her paradise. But a colder, more calculating voice whispered, "Revenge," it said, "is not a dish served hot. It is served ice-cold, and on your terms." My reply was simple. 3 words, "Okay, have fun." Then, I opened a new thread and texted my lawyer, "Paul, it's time. Initiate the proceedings, and I have a special request." The next year of my life was not lived, it was curated. I became the architect of my own vengeance, and every action, every word, was a carefully placed brick in the structure of Sarah's ruin. I played the part of the oblivious, supportive husband to perfection. I'd call her in Bali, my voice dripping with feigned concern. "Are you getting enough rest from all those conference seminars, honey? You sound tired." I could hear the guilt and confusion in her hesitant replies. She was waiting for the explosion, the confrontation, and my serene silence was a torture she couldn't comprehend. While she sunbathed with Mark, I was in Paul's office, orchestrating the financial evisceration. I'd spent a decade building a successful tech consultancy. Over the years, on my accountant's advice, I'd quietly shifted assets, created shell holdings, and funneled profits into accounts in my name only. All perfectly legal, all meticulously documented. The joint savings account she had so blithely drained for her affair was a pittance, a decoy. The real wealth, the millions, was far from her reach. My revenge was my oxygen. It fueled my days and haunted my nights. I'd lie awake, not mourning my dead marriage, but refining the plan. I hired a discreet investigator. The photos and reports were not for the divorce, they were for me. A gallery of their intimacy that I would study, not to hurt myself, but to stoke the flames of my righteous anger. I saw them laughing on a beach, feeding each other at a candle-lit table, his hand on the small of her back, the same way I used to touch her. Each image was a bullet I stored in the chamber. My sister, Emily, the only one who knew the full extent of my plan, watched me with growing alarm. "James, this hatred, it's changing you," she pleaded one evening, her hand on mine. "Just confront her, divorce her, be free of her. Don't let her turn you into this cold thing." I pulled my hand away. "This isn't hatred, Emily. It's justice. She doesn't get to shatter my life and then just walk into a new one with my money funding her happiness. I will not be the punchline of her joke." The day of her return arrived. I waited in the living room, the divorce papers resting on the coffee table like a sleeping viper. I heard her key in the lock, her cheerful, sun-kissed voice call out, "Honey, I'm home." She walked in, glowing, a souvenir necklace in her hand. She looked happy, truly, innocently happy in her deception. That happiness was the final insult. She leaned in to kiss me, and I turned my head, letting her lips brush my cheek. "James, what's wrong?" she asked, her smile faltering. "Did you have a good conference, Sarah?" I asked, my voice flat, cold. The color drained from her face, the souvenir slipped from her fingers and clattered on the floor. I can explain. There's no need," I said, cutting her off. I gestured to the papers. "I know everything about Bali, about Mark, about the $15,000 you spent from our account." I let her sit in that horror for a moment, watching the panic bloom in her eyes. Then I delivered the first blow. "I've filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery. My lawyer has all the evidence he needs." Tears welled in her eyes. "James, please, it was a mistake. It meant nothing." I smiled then, a thin, cruel smile that didn't touch my eyes. "I know, that's what makes this all so perfect." I picked up a second, thicker folder from beside the couch. "This is a full financial disclosure. You see, the money you stole was petty cash. The bulk of my assets are separate, premarital, protected." I watched as the reality of her financial future, a future with a middle manager named Mark and nothing else, dawned on her. "You're not getting the house. You're not getting alimony. You're getting what you came into this marriage with, nothing. You traded a king for a pawn, Sarah, and now the game is over." The raw, gut-wrenching sob that escaped her was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. It was the sound of my victory. The divorce was swift and brutal. The evidence was irrefutable. Sarah was left with her personal belongings and a mountain of legal debt. Mark, when faced with the prospect of supporting her, vanished back to his wife and kids, his own life imploding. Sarah's dream vacation had cost her everything. I got the house, the cars, the financial security. I had won. I had exacted my perfect, cold revenge. The world saw a man wronged, who had emerged victorious and strong. But a hollow victory is still hollow. The house was a museum of my bitterness. Every room echoed with her final, broken sobs. The silence I had once craved became a torment. My revenge had been a fire that kept me warm for a year, but now it had burned out, leaving only cold ashes. I started drinking, not socially, but alone in the dark, trying to drown the voice that sounded like my sister. "What has this made you?" I became a ghost in my own life, isolated by my own design. My friends drifted away, unnerved by my cynicism. My work began to suffer. The calculated coldness that served my vengeance was poison to everything else. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday, 8 months after the divorce was finalized. I was at a coffee shop, staring into a black abyss of espresso when I saw her. Sarah. She was waiting in line, shoulders slumped, wearing a cheap, ill-fitting waitress uniform. She looked a decade older, the light in her eyes completely extinguished. This was my masterpiece. This hollow, doubt shell was the product of my righteous justice. She got her coffee and turned, her eyes meeting mine across the room. There was no anger there, no hatred, just a profound, bottomless exhaustion and a flicker of shame. She gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod, and walked out into the rain without an umbrella, letting the downpour soak her. In that moment, I didn't see the woman who betrayed me. I saw a human being, broken, and I was her architect. The triumph I had clung to curdled in my stomach, replaced by a shocking, devastating wave of guilt. This wasn't justice. This was annihilation. I had sought to balance the scales, but I had piled on so much weight that I had shattered them completely. I couldn't sleep that night. Her defeated face haunted me. My revenge hadn't healed the wound. It had just infected it, and the sickness had spread to my very soul. I had believed destroying her would rebuild me. Instead, we were both ruins. The next morning, I did something my vengeful self would have never permitted. I called my lawyer, Paul, I said, my voice rough with a newfound clarity. "I want to release the frozen marital assets. Give her half. No, don't tell her it was from me. Make it anonymous. Just make it done." It wasn't forgiveness. I couldn't forgive her. It was surrender. A surrender of the war I had waged on my own humanity. Letting go of the revenge felt like tearing out a part of my own skeleton, agony and necessity in equal measure. The money wouldn't give her back her years, or me back my marriage, but it might give her a chance to start over. And in giving it, I was giving myself the same thing. The weight that lifted from my shoulders was not the weight of the money, but the weight of the hatred I had carried for so long. I had finally put it down. I sold the house. I moved to a new city. The path ahead wasn't about happiness, not yet. It was about quiet. It was about learning to look in the mirror and not see the architect of ruin, but just a man, flawed and wounded, who had finally chosen to stop bleeding onto everyone else. Revenge is a seed that grows into a prison. You believe you are building a fortress to protect yourself, but you are only constructing walls to cage your own soul. True strength isn't in the ability to destroy the one who hurt you, but in the brutal, painful courage to refuse to let their actions define you. Peace is not found in the ashes of your enemy's life, but in the quiet decision to stop burning yours down. Moral of the story: revenge is a fire that first consumes the one who lights it, leaving only cold ashes where a heart used to be.